All right, can I blame Heath yet? Oops. Good evening, everybody. I'm wrecking the place already. Cheese and crackers. I am not having a good evening. I'm not even sure that this is up on YouTube yet. So, let's see. Give me a minute here. I'm still trying to get things straightened out. The computer decided it was going to start having a conniption fit right as I was starting. And that's really fascinating. Okay, well, apparently I am live. I'm guessing I'm live. I have no idea. I might be Memorex, but, you know. All right, good evening, everybody. How you doing? Welcome to Sidetrack Sunday number 4 for February 2021, February the 28th, 2021. Appreciate everybody hopping in here. Let's see who we've got. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to do this the hard way because, like I said, for whatever reason, YouTube isn't updating for me. So I can see I've got Caboose 121. I've got Frank. I've got John number 2 from the Schuylkill River Valley. I've got Midsummer Railway. Welcome aboard. Almar is here. Heath from Humanity Junction is here. Chuck, CP368's in. Santa Fe Bob is here. Let's see. Brian Page. M&N Shortline. Let's see who else we've got floating. John 2618. Let's see. Joe Rader is in the house. Of course, the train freak, he's hiding in the basement at the moment. I'm going to have him up here with me in a little while. We're going to go ahead and discuss passenger cars. Anthony Dodge, Opa Dodge is in the house. And let's see who else we can find in the chat. But I think hopefully I've got everybody. If not, if I missed you, I am sorry. Like I said, gosh, I'm sitting too far to the one side here, and I keep kicking the camera, which means that when I actually go to do anything with this other camera, it's going to be all out of sorts. Anywho, welcome to my world. It's been, like I said, it's been one of those weekends. Lehigh River Subdivision, Ian's in the house. Catnuts, the Southern Yankee Railway. Oh, man. So, anyway, how's everybody hanging in there? How's everybody doing? Let's see if I can actually go ahead and see if this is up on YouTube yet. So I can actually see this somewhat live instead of behind the 8-ball. I really didn't need to have issues tonight. I've had enough fun yesterday. I was helping my niece and her fiance. They moved out of an apartment building and into an actual house. And I spent 12 hours helping them out yesterday. And, well, yeah, it's... I'm just a tad bit worn out. Hey, look at that. There it is. I just had to go elsewhere to get to it. Since YouTube didn't want to play nice. Yeah, boy. You know what I probably should have done here in the meantime is I probably should have just brought Jason up here so that way he can kind of keep an eye on things while I'm messing around. That would be helpful, wouldn't it? You know what?
Yeah, sure.
You know what else I forgot to do too? I forgot to go ahead and run the video. So I'm going to go ahead and run this video file while that's going on if it ever decides it. If it ever decides it wants to do it. With all the live streams and everything else, I'm pretty sure that everybody knows what's going on with the live streams by now. But if not...
Hey, there's a lot of live streams.
There are a lot of them, and it seems like there's more and more every day. Okay, so that is not my actual live stream. That's nice. Thank you very much. All right, YouTube. Good.
That one don't look bad.
What's that?
I said that one's got most of them on there.
Yeah, that's the one that John did for us. The only thing I haven't figured out is why I've got all this blank space off to the left of it.
Okay.
I'm sure there's something I probably need to do with it to get it to work better, but I didn't have time to fool with it this afternoon.
Yeah. I wouldn't worry about it.
No, so there's just a big blank space in the middle of the screen. We're probably going to get an echo here for a minute, so just bear with me as the computer. I should have rebooted this thing.
So Heath says he cannot hear me.
I can hear you.
Well, I'm not on mute, so that's a good thing.
There we go. Hey, what do you know? I've actually got YouTube playing. We're 5 minutes or 6 minutes in. I've only got YouTube to play nice.
It must be Heath over there. It's got to be Heath over there messing with stuff, man.
It probably has something to do with Heath. Heath broke it. We'll just blame Heath.
I mean, he's literally put you between the 2 and the 7 pin.
Oh, man.
Sorry, I had to throw that in there. I'm sure everybody out there, out in YouTube world, doesn't know, about the 2 and the 7 pin. So yeah. I'll let you fill them in if you want to.
You know what? So as I'm sure some folks are aware, some of them may not be, but my other hobby, especially during the wintertime, is bowling. I've been doing it for 30 years now. And Friday night was one of those nights where you get into a groove and everything seemed to be going my way until I got to the 10th frame. I strung 11 strikes in a row, and then, the ball just didn't quite finish the way it was supposed to and left the 2-7. So I shot 298. So, and then of course the last game, the adrenaline was just too high, and I lost the line, and that was the end of that. So I ended up shooting 703, but
hey, 700's not bad. I've only shot a 700 once when I used to bowl league years ago.
I can't tell you how many I've thrown now. I can't. I don't know how, over the 30 years, I don't know how many 700s I've thrown. I've only thrown 1-8. And I did that the night that I threw the 300. I won't forget that one. That was a 256, 300, 247. Yeah, 256, 300, 247. So it ended up being 803. But yeah, anyway, off topic, of course, sidetracked. Let me go back in the StreamYard here for a second so I can get rid of the thing playing here. And I don't know why it was in there twice, but it was. It shouldn't have been. Oh. I think I lost Jason, unfortunately. Sorry, Jason. Oh, all right, Carl. Well, we'll have to wait for Jason to sneak back in here. Somehow or other, the StreamYard kicked him out. Oh, man. Let me see if I can find him. Of course, now it's telling me that everything is delayed. I don't know why it would be delayed. Anyway. What the heck is going on? Okay. Oh, I have no idea what's going on. Yeah, you know what, Brian? I probably will. I already have, and I probably will. Anyway, I'm going to jump to it here for a minute. I was hoping maybe Jason will show back up here in a minute. Yeah, I've got a bit of a science project going on here. He He's cut my power off. Oh no. I thought he was kidding. Okay. All right. Hey, Manny Fernandez, Roy Elpham, Lackawanna Rail fan. Welcome in. I'm sure there's been a few others that have shown up here since I started this mess. But you know what we're going to do here? What is that box right in front of you? You mean this? That is a DC power supply. I've actually got another one sitting over here that you can't see really because it's kind of, I had a hard time getting this set up to where I could show what was going on. And see, if I go too far, now you can't, well, yeah, I guess you can. Okay. Yeah, it's a mess already, Rick. Oh, man. Hey, Dwayne's Fork and Spoon is in the house, too. It's been a mess. What's DC? That's good. Yeah, I like that. Okay, what's DC? Oh man, it runs Jason's power. Hey, I think I've got somebody coming back in, or trying to. Maybe. There he is.
What's up? So we just had a big old thing of thunder. So I don't know what he did, but we have no power.
Oh, nice.
So I have a lantern right here, and I haven't used my cell phone. So there goes me showing everything I was going to show off tonight.
Unless of course the power comes back.
Yeah, if it comes back on, then definitely. Yeah, they said there's some rough storms coming through the area. So.
Oh man.
Yeah, hopefully. So I guess that totally your train of thought.
Yeah, well, my train of thought's been off the tracks for a long time, Jason. I didn't need any help in that department. That's for sure. Oh man.
Well, you know it's all his fault. I mean, I mean, Amanda over here saying she's definitely going to buy his shirt. Everything's his fault.
Everything is his fault.
It's one of those had to be there.
It is a full moon out, by the way.
Hey, I think Craig Jr. is trying to stick up for you, but we're not going to let that happen.
A Rick fell in the
Well,
wires.
if you still want me on here, chat with you, I don't mind.
Anthony.
I see it. That's awesome.
Oh, man.
Yeah, whole neighborhood's out.
Oh,
well, if you still want me on here, I don't mind. If not, I can pop back on as soon as the power kicks on if you're still on.
all right. Yeah, I went ahead and I'm going to go ahead and try and fly this here for a little bit and see what we can do. But I guess that if you want to monitor things for just a few minutes while I kind of go over this mess of contraption that's in front of me.
Okay,
and,
I can try.
Okay. So start using Blame Heath at school. Oh boy, that's great.
But good thing for Freak Jr., he's homeschooled, so that's fine.
Yeah, Amanda will just be going, what the heck is he talking about?
And then she'll be like, "Oh yeah, that's right."
No, that guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So what I ended up doing here, as just a demonstration or demonstration purposes, I tried to mimic one area of the railroad that's behind me, namely the passenger terminal, because some folks have been asking, hey, Sean McGee, welcome aboard. Had been asking how I did the passenger trains stopping in the passenger station. So I'm hoping that this is going to kind of explain that a little bit. So what I've got here is what you normally see on the layout. I've got two power packs in here, although these are not the same power packs that I use. These were sitting back in my junk box. And they're hooked to a DPDT center off at the double pole, double throw center off switch. So when you take it in one direction, this power pack's on. You take it the other direction, and this power pack was on. And if you want the block to be off completely, you got it in the center. I've actually got a couple places that I did not use center offs, and they're either in one direction or the other. Those are great, but they don't have any isolation. So if something happens, you can actually have them to where the power will actually jump. But the other thing that's here, and I'll start off here with this. I've actually got the center pole of the DPDT goes over to the rails here. And I've actually got it soldered to rail joints on the bottom side. So that's how this block, and this block actually goes from here to wherever. It just that block, this block ends at this point, and then this piece of track would actually start the next block. Obviously, with the space constraints, I couldn't do a whole lot here. But there's also something else that's interesting with this particular block, and that is the fact that between here and here, this rail is isolated. So that means that if I wanted to bring a train in and stop it, I just take this toggle switch and turn it off. This is basically like a light switch. Power comes in on one side, and then if the switch is on, it just routes it right on out to the rail, and then the train can proceed. Or if I want it to stop, I flip it in the opposite direction. It kills the rail. The train comes in, or the locomotive comes in and stops. And that's it. So now I've got a spot and the passenger terminal is a perfect example of this, where a locomotive will stop in the same spot every time. Now, I say that, but and the reality is some locomotives have a longer wheelbase than others, and they will actually creep a little bit further than a short wheel-based locomotive would. So in other words, if you brought an 040 switch engine into here, it would stop as soon as it got to the first break. However, if you go ahead and you take like the E8s or the E9s or the E7s, the really long E or F units, and brought them in here, or an SD40, it would actually take a bit before that second truck gets to the brake. So that's going to be, and not only that, but if the locomotive has momentum built in, i.e. Athearn with their flywheels, they will kind of creep a little bit further once they hit that dead spot. So they don't actually, so you'll see some locomotives may stop down here, others may stop back up this way. However, regardless, this piece of track is isolated, and those locomotives are going to stop somewhere in that range. So hopefully that explains kind of how that is wired in. So what I did is, especially over there, it used to be years ago when my father did this, we would actually go from the rail past the isolation, and we would run that back to the control panel to the switch, and then from the switch back out to the other rail. What I decided to do with this layout instead was at the control panel, power actually comes from the power packs. And we just lost Jason again. Actually comes from the power pack and then routes out to the rail itself from the switch. So the power doesn't have as far to go. What's DC again? Direct current. That's DC. Also analog for those that want to go in that direction. That is Hey, Tom's Trains and Things. Welcome aboard, sir. You know, Heath, you're right. It would be, but it doesn't really. In this case, you'd still have to have some way of stopping the locomotives in the same spot every time. That's right, Frank. I know. You know, just picking on me. I know. And Jason is always lost. Well, I don't know about that, Chuck, or Jason, or Heath, but yeah. So, you know, it's funny. I think no matter what you do, Tom's Trains and Things, I'm less lost when you explain Arduino than I am when Ray explains DC. All right, Heath. So, what's going on now? What's going on? I can't see. I'm not able to see any of the messages coming through on Google for some stupid reason. So I have no idea what's going on over there. I have no clue what is happening. So he's trying to go back under. Yeah, Tom. They've got some sort of a thunderstorm or something like that going on out there where he's at, and they lost power. So anyway, that's basically what I wanted to talk about. You know, just trying to simplify, or at least kind of give you a representation of what actually is happening over in that passenger terminal, or what will be the passenger terminal. So that's basically really what I've got. I mean, it's like I said, this isn't the only part of this video. We're actually going to go ahead and take a look at some of the passenger equipment too. But this is what I do. I mean, this is how I've done railroading for years. If you want to know, if you really want to know how some of this stuff came about, and of course I should have marked the page before I started the stream, but that's okay. Oh, there it is. But yeah, this here's a fairly new publication. I think this might be from like the 60s or the 70s. This was done by this was actually done by Bob Hayden. 1978. But one of the things in here is they talk about how to do DC wiring back in the day. You know what? Let me go ahead and switch cameras here. That will make it a little bit easier. So, you know, they show how the DC wiring was done, at least as far as the blocks go. I'm not 100% certain. Yeah, it's made from paper. I'm not 100% certain where my father came up with the idea of the dead tracks. I don't know if I think they're the Atlas, which is another thing, another blast from the past would be this guy. But they had these switches in here that they called selectors, and they were basically the same thing as as a toggle switch. So yeah, these two books have been books that I've had in the library for a long time. And let's see, this one here was $4.95, and then this one here was $3.50. Although I doubt we actually paid that much for them. But you know, because of the fact that I'm very limited on the color wire that I have, I went ahead and used the alligator clips from my test bench so that it would copyright 1920. You're probably right, Anthony. And you know what, Heath? I'm not 100% certain. I've never tried. I have never tried, but you know, those books, for even though as old as they are, of course, I'm still running DC, so I'm fairly, things are fairly dated in that direction. But like I said, it's just showing how things are. Hey, Dave from the Crooked River in Eastern, how's that bench work coming, buddy? So that's, like I said, this is what's over there. This is just a much simpler way of showing how it was done, versus trying to go up underneath the layout and trying to show the spaghetti of wire. But it's not as bad as it used to be, believe it or not. When I ran this one here, which is one of the things that's another topic of discussion, I guess, is, what kind of bus wire do you use? Well, for this layout, I went ahead and used, I think it was either 14 or 16 gauge. So, I was, for the length of this thing being 34 foot by 8 foot, you needed something that was going to be able to cover the distance with not much line loss. And what I did, much like you guys in DCC, the 14 or the 16 gauge wire runs the whole length of the layout for both main lines. And then this thinner wire that I have actually on these switches, which is like 22 gauge, that actually goes from the track down and clamps into the bus wires, because going a short distance on 22 isn't bad. It's, you can do that. You just don't want to use that 22 gauge as your bus. It's just you're never gonna be able to carry the current. So let's see, who else did we miss? Martin Sersma is in here. Hey, welcome aboard, Martin. Carolina Foothills, D Knight, welcome in. So I'm sure I've missed some other people. I'm sorry. I was kind of playing show and tell here again, which we're going to be used to use multiple switches to switch between sections. Absolutely, Carl. One of these, I guess, if you want to look back, there actually is a few videos that show the, hey, Chris from Go Via, Go Home, welcome aboard. I've got a video that I made when I put the main control panel in, because the dispatcher, which is going to be over at the bar, he can run, or he's going to be running some stuff from over there. But on the front of the layout right now, I've also got two panels that have two sets of DPDTs on the front, so that I can switch between the two power packs on the front. And trust me, Chris, yeah, it would be, but when you have a daughter in college, and the possibilities of other things coming up, you've got to be saving some cash. So, yeah, there just isn't any room in the budget at the moment for DCC, and not only that, but a lot of the stuff that I run just isn't compatible. Although I hear that from folks that I could go ahead and run some DC locomotives off the DCC system, but like I said, right now, yeah, right, Ian. Actually, it's a dry bar. Oh boy. So, anywho, and I have no idea what else is going on here, but well, we'll go ahead. If there's nothing else going on with the DC side of things here, I'm going to go ahead and switch over, and I'm going to show some of the passenger cars. And I know there was a couple of folks that were kind of kidding about, gee, passenger cars, what do they carry? Haha. Yeah, okay. I get you. But we're talking about the specialties, and not only that, but some of the passenger cars, they've got their own AAR, just like the box cars. And anybody who's not familiar with the AAR, for at least for the North American system, AAR is the Association of American Railroads. And all right, Tom. But the AAR, which is the Association of American Railroads, and I believe that I think that John number 2 is still floating around in here, and so is Heath. I went ahead and sent some links out. There are links to how those designations work and when they were actually used. So every piece of rolling stock that's out there, whether it be a boxcar, a hopper car, crane cars, maintenance of way equipment, passenger cars, all have their own AAR designations, and that's how they're set up. And the weird part about it is when Jason was talking about this, and I was on his stream last Sunday, he was talking about the different errors that things ran, and when certain cars and certain locomotives were in play. When I first designed this layout, well, not this particular one, but the 13-foot by 11, and I knew I wanted to get into operations, I started looking at what I had on my rolling stock, the bulk of my rolling stock. What were they? What era did they come from? And by looking at the two links, or at least the one link, which came from Nakina, where they talk about the AR types, they actually have a date listed there that tells you when that was in play. Obviously, I think the last time that may have been updated was, well, at least my sheets, because I've had them for a while. And yes, years ago, I actually went and printed this out. There was a total of 24 pages, but it went through every possible piece of rolling stock that was out there, and this was good up until 2007. So when I figured out what era I wanted to be in, which was between 1950 to 1970, and as I've explained in some of my videos, I stretched that from time to time a little bit. But I try not to go too far outside of that realm. So I found out that I had some rolling stock and some locomotives that just would not work on this railroad. Some of them had the wrong paint schemes. Some of them were just too new. They were too modern. Kind of like one of the tank cars that Anthony for the Georgia Sunbelt won, that one for Union, I think it was Union Carbide or something like that. That is a liquid nitrogen car, I think it is, or something of that effect. And that it's just too new for my railroad. Hey, Gus Hadley, welcome aboard. So, there was no, and not only that, but for since I'm trying to run shorter trains, that car was, I don't know, I think it was like a scale 80-some foot car. So it's a little long for what I wanted to do. But regardless, now we're a little bit off of where I wanted to be. The same thing had to happen with the passenger cars. And unfortunately, with the passenger cars that I have, some of them are heavyweights, some of them are streamlined. Here again, they're in that transition era, 1950, 1970, but I actually have some older stuff as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it up on this camera, and actually I think what I'm going to do for the moment is we're just going to kill camera 2, because I don't think I need that for the moment. Hey, JD, welcome aboard. I think we'll start out with something on the new side. I was kidding with Jason before, and of course, apparently, I'm guessing his phone died. But we'll start with maybe we'll start with something a little bit modern, like this guy. No, these here are old time cars. These actually I had picked up, and I wish it would focus. There we go. Maybe stay. This is an old RPO car, and it's from the Maryland and Pennsylvania Railroad. These cars obviously are very old. Not the car, not so much the car itself, but the car type is very old. Actually, I think that this may have been AccuRail, Heath. I'm not 100% certain. These cars were in a box of stuff that I had gotten from a buddy of mine. So this here was an old RPO car. And then we go into what they call a a combine, or in this case, this one here is actually a fast baggage car. Come on, focus. There we go. So that's a fast baggage car. Now, none of these have interiors. They're old kits. So, and then what we end up with are a couple of different style coaches that go with that same set. And like I said, now these here, you actually have Maryland and Pennsylvania. Come on, focus. And it's not going to cooperate. Anyway, but you actually do have Maryland and Pennsylvania listed across the top of the car. There it goes. So that's one of the reasons why I was trying to get that little gem brass steamer that I've got straightened out, because I'd like that to be able to pull these cars around as what they call a WFE, a white flag extra. But I haven't been able to get that locomotive straightened out yet. So that'll be sometime in the future. So now we will get into something a little bit more modern. And I'm just going to bring these over. Now these are heavyweight cars. And these here are painted up for the Crescent Limited. I'm sure you all have seen these running around the layout. This here is a dining car from the Southern Crescent Limited. Obviously, it says dining car on the side, but the other way you can tell is the fact that they've got the doors are real close to the end on one side, and there is no door on the opposite end. So that's a dining car. Now, none of my cars, unfortunately, have interiors. Unfortunately, Jason, he actually has cars that have interiors to them, and they look really nice. But unfortunately, due to a storm, he's gone. I've become a heavyweight car. I need to lose. You know what? Now, this here is an observation car. And the reason you can tell that is you've got the observation on the end. Now, if you notice there's a railing missing, well, that is because when I was building the layout, this thing took a dive off the end of the railroad and ended up on the floor. So I've got to put the railing back on at some point. But this one here is a observation car. This is actually an end of train. Is there an easy way to tell which car is which, diner, sleeper, coach? Normally, Heath, when you get them in a box, it'll tell you what it is. If not, sometimes they'll actually have it on the side of the car. That's the only way that you're really going to know, unfortunately. I haven't found any other way of actually being able to look at them and go, oh, yeah, that's this. This here is a Pullman car, which I believe is just a coach. Let me go ahead and pull my Excel sheet back up here a minute, because I've actually got my inventory sheet sitting here off to the side. And this here is the William Rufus King, and this is just a coach. I actually think that this is a little bit more than just a coach because of the way that the windows are. But regardless, that's what it's listed as, a coach. And then we got one more coach for that set, and that's this guy. So these are all heavyweight cars, and I think the way that you can tell the heavyweights from the others is by the top. And specifically on some of these other cars where they've got the indentations and things and such, the roofs weren't really rounded. They were they are rounded, but they weren't as rounded as when you get into the streamliners, which I'm going to show you a bunch of them here in a bit. Let's see, no interiors of mine. Yeah, that's a sleeper. The Rufus King, the William. You think that's a sleeper? It might. You know what? It probably is. I just noticed with those windows on the side. You might be right. Yeah, you might be right there, Chuck. I think this here is a sleeper. And thank you, Anthony. These are nice cars. These are actually, I think these were IHC cars, believe it or not. And yes, these are 6-axle. Good catch. The thing is I think I've actually got a heavyweight car that only has a 2-axle because it's a shorter car. Lehigh River, I know. Do you know what the date is? The date for what, Heath? Oh, the 13th. Oh, okay. You guys are talking about the meet and greet. Okay. That I unfortunately won't be able to make. All right. Let's get over here to something else that's a little bit more. This set of cars. Hey, Shane's Trains, welcome aboard, and Dave P. This set of cars is a little bit of a mess. This here is a Baltimore and Ohio, and this is a baggage car. Obviously, you can tell by the size of the doors here. But it's also, I would imagine, be considered a heavyweight. It's got 6 axles. And I didn't bring over the actual coach. This, I believe, would be more or less an observation car because it's the end of the train. These here, I believe, are Riv Rossi's. Yes. Now, what's really fascinating is I think somebody was having issues with the center wheels on these trucks and took them out because they're only 4-axle instead of 6. And yes, Bernard C, welcome aboard, sir. And yes, when I run these, the baggage cars are usually the first car. It's usually the baggage or an REA, which is a Railway Express, which we're going to get into, or an RPO, which is a Railroad Post Office. They were usually towards the front, mainly because of the fact that you didn't want passengers walking through the cars, walking through those. But anyway, oh, cool, Midsummer. I know you've been. I think you may have been on Heath streams before. I think that's where I've seen you. But I know you've been around. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. Midsummer's down in Australia, so we know we're going to be good because he's already in the future. Tomorrow's good. Okay. Now these cars, here are the Atherin cars that Rick Bailey will probably recognize. These are these here are part of what we've dubbed the Rick Bailey or the Foltz Bailey Express. But this here is a RPO car. I should have gotten the other because some of these are somewhat scratched up. Yep, this here is an RPO, but this is a 4-truck. So I would imagine this is more like a streamline. But yeah, that's the RPO. Obviously, they would have this here is, I guess it's a little non-prototypical, but they used to, in some places they would actually pick up mail on the fly. Where a station where they didn't stop at, they would actually have an arm that stuck off the side of the car that would actually pull mail pouches off of a pole. Yeah, for the most part, Heath, you're either going to see heavyweights or streamliners. Like I said, I think these are more along the lines of a streamliner. And of course, with your streamliners, one of the things that also comes into play. Yep. Used to have a hook-style mailbag. Yep, that's exactly right, Bernard, David. And it's neat to see, too. How many springs are on the trucks? It looks like if they were actual springs, it looks like 4 on one side. So there's a total of 8. They're kind of molded in. These aren't these aren't obviously sprung trucks. These are all molded trucks. These are old Afrin cars. So what we have here is a Vista Dome car. So you've just got the small dome in the middle here. Again, unfortunately, these cars are not, they don't have an interior to them, so you can see right through them. But that's your dome car. And then you have an observation. So one of the things that I was kidding myself about the other day, I was looking at the passenger terminal. I was like, I was always wondering why they had the ends of these cars rounded off. And then I realized when I was going into the passenger terminal, if they weren't rounded off, they would hit. These longer cars would actually nail each other in that passenger terminal because of how tight the radius is. It's still 22-inch radius, but the tracks are so close that when these cars pass by each other, they are literally, hey, Randall Ellison and Wimble Train, they are literally that close when they pass. And like I said, for the longer train, if that was a squared end car, it would have nailed it. So, and it's a possibility, Heath, that these would be more or less considered a transition era between, when you had the heavyweights before you got into the Amtrak age, which obviously are streamlines. So we're going to get into a different set here. Oh. Central Valley passenger trucks have springs. Yeah, well, right now, Bernard, I'm still, there's going to be some things eventually that I'll go ahead and work on to get the cars all upgraded. It's not a real high priority list, real high on the priority list right now, getting this stuff upgraded. I'm more or less want to start working on the next thing is actually, and I was going to touch on this a little bit later, but since we're kind of there, one of the things I want to start working on is the second level. Where the city will be, which will be above the actual passenger tracks, and where I can put down or put my passenger. What am I looking for? I'm going to put in passenger platforms, and the passenger station will be above. It'll basically be the downtown area. That's my next focus. And then after that, I want to start working my way north from Beauville, which would be across the gorge, over to this side, and then into the industrial area, and then over this way to where the farm's going to be. But we're way ahead of ourselves. Anyway, this is this here's an old Tyco car, believe it or not. Hey, oh man, I've got trouble in the basement. Man. Oh, I don't know if I should get to the root of this or not.
You sent the invite, brother.
Well, I figured since you dropped on the lines and knocked Jason's power out,
Not me, brother. Blame Heath.
Oh man. Hey, Model Railer.
Model Railer. Long time no see. How's it going, brother?
No, John. The metal posts hold up the backdrop. They don't hold up the second level. Oh man, how you doing, Rick?
Oh, same old, man.
You done the frosting yet?
Pretty much.
I wish we had.
Yeah, I mean, after all the rain that we got the last couple days, it's pretty much gone. Now I'm just dealing with the floodwaters.
Yeah, well, I know my sump pump's been running about every 10 minutes.
Yeah, same here. My lawn is like a swamp.
Yeah, well, that's my backyard, and of course the dogs go back out there, and it's it's a mess. You've got kids.
Yep. Yep.
Hey, look, mud puddle.
Every morning.
Uh-huh. Rick powered up his hat and caused a blackout. Oh, man. Oh, that's a good one, Shane. I like that. Wait a minute. I got to put this one up there. Okay, we got Larry and Moe. Now we need to get Curly up there. Jeez. Unfortunately, John, I can't do that yet. I'm not monetized, dude. I wish I was. So anyway, dilly dilly. Anyway, so I've got these old Tycos. This here happens to be a oh boy.
Come on. You can throw me to the side. I'm just here for the free advertising. I'll keep an eye on chat for you.
Heavyweights and streamliners. Heavyweights came before the streamliners, Heath. But I think there were times where you would probably see both. And there was actually, it was interesting to me. There used to be up at the Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute up north, they had a HO gauge layout that they made that they called the New England, Berkshire, and Western. And one of its premises was after the war, passenger service took off, and they actually had to press in service the old heavyweights to be able to take up all the passenger service because they didn't have enough streamline cars yet. And they also pressed in a lot of the old steam locomotives for the same reason. So yeah, that's kind of where it was at. Take it easy, Dwayne.
Hey, Dwayne.
So anyway, so it wouldn't be unusual to see, heavyweights and streamliners on the same train at some point. The passenger cars keep getting longer. Now I think they got to a point where they just didn't get any bigger than what they are. I don't know what the actual footage is these days on an Amtrak car. So take it easy, Opa Dodge. We'll see you, buddy.
See, Anthony, have a good one.
But so we got a club car here, and I've got a description on these as well. The club cars were actually rather unique as well. And of course, I don't have that up now because my computer went sideways. Let's see if I can find.
When you get around to it, make me smaller. Throw me to the side. This way people can see your cars better.
Okay, yeah, give me a second here. Let me see. Oh, there it is. This here, okay, well, there we go. It's a club car. They were a combined smoking and baggage car. So they did two things. They actually had, so you had the baggage up front, and then you had the smoking car in the back. The heavyweight cars, John, are going to be like these here, where they've got 6 axles, and they also aren't very rounded. They're a little bit more squared off. I mean, obviously, yeah, this is round, but if you take a look between that and a streamliner, and you see how the end of the car is really, really rounded off, and this one here kind of steps up. That's how most of the heavyweights were. They were this way. And then most of your streamliners, had that rounded the car, and they were also made out of steel. Some of the heavyweights were actually made out of wood.
I like square.
What's that?
I like square.
In fact, I think, and somebody else could maybe chime in on this one too. I believe that now I've lost my train of thought. Cheese and crackers.
Toot toot.
Yeah, well, there we go. Yep. The heck of the handbasket. I think some of the heavyweights, like I said, they were mainly made out of wood, and the the Streamliners and even the newer Amtrak cars are either made out of steel or aluminum. I know the newer ones are definitely made out of aluminum. The new Amtrak cars. So this here is just a normal. Even though it says it's a club car, it's not. This here is more like this is just a coach. Hey, Hot Rod Rodney, what's going on? Is it buffering?
Hey, Rodney. No, I don't. Well, I'm going through StreamYard. I'm looking at you there, so I haven't seen anything buffer.
Yeah, I was just looking at the. I was just looking at the live stream here. I've been over on the StreamYard side. I hadn't even noticed. So it doesn't look like it's buffering to me, but okay. Anyway, if I am, I'm sorry. I have no idea. I have no idea why it would be. Hey, train fan, welcome aboard. Yeah, the Amtrak Superliner cars are definitely aluminum. I do know that. So anyway, so that's the Rio Grande set. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot about the observation car. Again, that boat tail, that's what I like to call it. You know, the rounded end, is really, really unique. Hey, take it easy, Dave. Thanks for popping in. And one of the things with these observation cars, these streamlined observation cars, was normally at the end of the car down here, there would be a lit herald of the railroad or what train it was. This here obviously does light. It's because the car itself is lit, but it doesn't really show up that well, and it looks just like a headlight because there's nothing else there.
The guy in that back window looks like he's yelling for help.
Yeah. He's looking out the back window. Yeah, he's looking out the back window.
Help me!
Yeah, Jason had noticed that before on one of the cars on the side too. How long would the train be? You know, that's a good question, Carl. Most of mine are the longest passenger trains that I run are 5 cars. And that's because of the fact that my passenger terminal can't hold anything bigger than that. If you saw the community roundhouse challenge video that I did, that one I actually took both of the Foltz Bailey Express trains and put them together.
I was waiting for it. Yeah.
You know, and that had, I think that when by the time I got done, I think there was 8 to 10 cars on that train. And I also turned around and put both of the GG1s on the front of that too, which made it even more unique as it went through the S curves out here. But I think nowadays, and somebody again, I don't model modern era, so I don't know how many cars are usually on an Amtrak train. I think it's usually around 8. I think is what the average. I know some of the other ones. I think some of their locals, I think, are a little bit shorter. But I know, and in fact, their cross-country ones, I think, are a lot longer. But anyway, wife chasing after she found him. What? Ran out of... Okay. California Zebra.
Oh, I think he's referring to the guy in the back of the window.
I see. I got you. I was reading Randall Ellison's comment here. I heard a story that the California Zephyr cars were made out of chrome
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, which is a mixture of stainless and nickel silver. That's interesting. I never knew that.
Sounds expensive.
Yeah, well, yeah, it does. It does. Well, like I said, it's at one point in time the Streamliners were made out of stainless steel, which that ain't cheap either. But the reason why they made them out of stainless steel is because they wouldn't rust.
Yeah.
You know, an aluminum doesn't rust, but that was the other problem with stainless steel. Stainless steel ain't light.
No.
You know, so when they went ahead, they went over to Amtrak, went over to the aluminum cars. Well, they got a lot lighter, and you don't need all that horsepower pulling that train anymore. Let's get on to another set of cars here. because I've got one more set after this one. This set here happens to be another IHC set. Here we go with another, and this thing, because these don't have interiors to them either. This one here is painted up for the Seaboard. This here is another observation, and of course it's got the little. This one here actually has a red light at the top and a red shield for the Herald.
Are they functional?
Huh?
Are they functional or
No?
just
This is not a lit car. This one here is just a non-lit, non-interiored car, and it's a 4-wheel. This here's another one of those streamliners. These thinkers, to get them open, it's not easy. You would think that the body would just come off the frame.
Yeah.
But what it is the roof comes off, and the roof and the interior glass is actually attached.
Oh, wow.
So they're a son of a gun to get into. When I was going ahead and reweighting everything, I was like, how the heck do these come apart? And then I remembered there's little tabs on the frame that's actually part of the glass. I don't know if I can spin that truck out of the way enough. Yeah, there you go. You can see those two little silver tabs right below the truck.
Right.
That's actually the glass. You pry those in, and then the top pops. And then the whole roof and the glass comes out. They are weird. It's a weird setup. This car kind of gets me. Sparky 107's in the house. Welcome aboard, buddy. This car here kind of I was showing Jason this earlier. This one here kind of got me. When IHC put this together, I always assumed, and of course that's a bad thing to do, but I always assumed that this was the front of the car and this was the rear of the car. Apparently, with the way that Seaboard did it, this is the rear of the car, this is the front of the car, because the seats are all facing that way.
Interesting.
So, and when you take this car apart, just like the other ones, and you try to put the seats back in there, they won't let them go in. So they only face the one direction. So, but that's another one of those dome cars.
Have you looked into any kind of like aftermarket? You got the pictures of the people in the window on the other cars.
Right.
Did they make something like that that you could put in here?
I don't know if they do that for the newer cars, or not. To be honest, it would be neat if they did. Sometimes what happens is I've noticed. Well, I've got another set of passenger cars that I didn't bring out because it's a set, and it happens to be the ones that runs behind the Orient Express locomotive. It's the Orient Express. Those cars actually do have interiors. My father turned around and lit them up, which that was done rather uniquely. I should have brought those over because they are they're different. But they're where was I going?
We were talking about the interiors.
Oh yeah, they've got full interiors to them, and they're Bachmann units.
Oh, interesting.
But they don't have, they don't have the people. They don't have that acetate or cellophane. I think that's acetate. And it's real. When those cars get old, as those cars age, that cellophane that's in there gets really brittle. So you really have to watch it. I'd like to. And somebody had mentioned that somebody is out there 3D printing interiors for the cars. So that way it'll work. So you can just tell them, which manufacturer you've got, and they can go ahead and figure out what the cars are, and you can go ahead and get a new. You can have an interior built for it,
Gotcha.
Which would be kind of cool.
Heath had a question for you. He said, Ray, how can you tell the difference between a dome car and an observation car?
That's a dome car. And that's an observation car. This is a streamline observation car. And as we were discussing earlier with the heavyweights, that is an observation car.
Oh, that's cool.
This one here, like we were talking about, that one there is off the Crescent, but that's the rear. When you've got a rear porch like that on the last car, that's an observation car.
That's like one of them presidential deals.
Kind of, yeah. That's what they used them for back in the day. Back when the heavyweight passenger cars were the thing. But I'm not sure how well this is going to show up, but does anybody take a guess as to what kind of a car that might be?
I get no idea.
This here happens to be a diner.
Oh.
This side of the car is the kitchen.
Oh,
And if you notice, unlike some of the other passenger cars where the doors are real close to the end, like here,
yeah.
this one here is close on this side, but it's further away on that side, and that's because that's where the kitchen actually sits. And it's the way that the doors are set up, where the other cars, it's right on the end on both sides. Right up against the edge of the car. But the other thing, like I said, that kind of gives it away is those neat little ducts off the top of the car. So that's a diner car.
All right.
And this, Jason was the one that brought this one to my attention. This next one is a rather unique. Now I can't find it. Daggone it. This one here had a unique name to it. Now I've lost it. Oh well. I'll have to go back and take another look for it. Let me see if I've got it on the other thing here.
Tom's Trains and Things says, "Is this Sidekick Sunday?"
Yeah. Sometimes it is. There it is. This here is what they would actually consider a PAS. That's the AAR designation for it. This is a sleeper coach. And the reason why that's the reason why the windows go up and down. It's because this would be like a bunking car. You would actually have you'd actually have sleeping quarters on multiple levels within the car.
Oh, neat.
So it's a coach on one level and a sleeper on the other level. So that's that. I was like, well, I didn't know that's what that. I just thought it was a sleeper, and it's like, no, it's a sleeper coach. I'm like, I didn't know that.
So would it be one window per cabin?
Right. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep. All right. So we're going to put these guys off to the side because we got one more. And this next set of cars, is another odd set. Ooh, come here. And we're going to start off with, we were talking about the RPOs earlier, the Railway Post Office, and how they would pick on a non-stop. In other words, if you were going through a small town, then it was an express train that wasn't going to stop, which a lot of the RPO trains did not. They were just running. For the most part, hey, Andy Ambrose, welcome aboard. For the most part, when you were running, if there was a Railway Post Office car running on a train, that was usually a non-stop train. It was a point A to point B. And if there were small cars within, or if there were small towns within that run, then they would use a car that looked like this. Now, this little arm on this side is what they would actually swing out to catch the mail bag off of a pole outside of the station. And they would also have another door or another car where they would actually throw mail out the door and land on the ground outside of that station. So as they were throwing mail out, they were also picking mail up. But that's what they would use this for, so that the train never had to stop at that small town.
Interesting.
And then, of course, you go from that. Okay. We go from that to a baggage car or an REA car. This here has got your baggage on one end and then your express agency stuff on the opposite end. These here usually transferred between trains as well. They usually weren't owned by a particular railroad, although this one here is, and this one here happens to be another heavyweight. This is a 6-axle trucked passenger car. Yeah, actual airmail tossed out the door. Yeah, pretty much, Roy. Hey, welcome aboard. So, let's see. Somebody, I thought, oh, okay. There was something that somebody was asking. Oh, it was Heath. For the most part, all of these passenger trains, with the exception of the Maryland, Pennsylvanias that I brought up first, have run or do run on the layout. So everything that I'm showing off does run on the layout on a regular basis. This here is a sleeper car. Again, you've got those unique windows on the one side, but what's really odd, because this here would be the side that had all the cabins. This is the side that had the actual had the aisleway. So in other words, one side of the car was just a hallway, and then the other side of the car was the cabins.
Does that have an interior to it?
No, none of these cars have an interior to them either. And it would be. No, I do run Pennsylvania. That was the Maryland and Pennsylvania. These guys. Because right now I don't have a locomotive to pull them. These ultra modern cars here. These here were from the early 1900s. These were all wood. Thus, the reason why even the detail on the bottom here, if it'll show up, there's actual the cars would actually have metal stiffeners to help keep the car from sagging in the middle.
Oh yeah, I see them now. Yep.
So yeah, the Maryland and Pennsylvania right now does not. The normal Pennsylvania does. No, he had a good question. So, and then we get to the last car, which is a cafe lounge car. So this one here would have a cafe on one end and a lounge on the other end. Kind of almost like a diner car, but it wouldn't have full-fledged tables and waiters or waitresses and things of that nature. It would just be some place to hang out and have a drink. Okay. That, with the exception of, hey Rick, hold the stream down for just a second.
Sure. I'm holding.
No, because you did bring something up, and I probably should have brought this guy over earlier, but I didn't.
It's tot.
And you're wondering what I'm talking about. It's this dude.
Orient Express.
This is an old Bachmann model from back in the early 80s. I have actually had this running on the layout at one point. It will run. Hey, you can't see me.
Oh, watch your camera.
It ain't going nowhere. It's on a tripod and it's between the two monitors here.
Oh, there you go.
All right. Now, what is unique with the Orient Express? I'm going to go ahead and get the cars out first, and then I'll explain some of the stuff that's on the, because these are definitely unique. Obviously, they ran over in Europe, so they don't have the same style couplers as we've got over here. And because of the fact that where the Orient Express actually ran, there is something else that's ran. I wish Anthony Dodge was still here because I think he'd enjoy this. But that's okay. I'll have to tell him about it later. Oh, give me a minute. Get these. Try to put these someplace where they won't, where I won't drop them on the floor. All right. Okay. Let's see what we have. All right. This here is a second-class Pullman car from the Orient Express. And I'm not sure if you can actually see in the windows. Actually, you probably can. There are little lamps sitting on the tables on the car.
Oh, yeah.
This, like I said, this is just one of those neat little things. They're actual. When we bought the set, you actually had to open these cars up and put each and every one of those freaking lamps on the tables.
Oh, wow.
And you had to put the lampshades on. So the detail parts didn't come, that they came with, but they didn't come on it already. And I was talking about the unique way that the electric was done.
Right.
Yeah. For the lighting system on the inside of here, it's just a piece of copper on the wheels. Wrong side.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a wire that comes down through the middle of the truck, and that just rides on the axle. And the axle has one set of wheels isolated. So there's actually a piece of plastic that goes around the axle on the inside of the wheel.
Okay.
And like I said, these don't have normal. These are hook and loop.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
These are the European style. So that's your second class Pullman. Now, one of the things that's unique, I'm not sure how well this is going to show up, but we'll give it a shot. All right, come on. There we go. That one's obviously in English. That's obviously not. And then on the other side, it says it's the same. This one here happens to be the same way. One of these is actually in German on the side of the car. And I think it's this one here. No, it's not this one. Wait a minute. Let me pull that one up here. There it is. This happens to be a sleeping car. See, Anthony Dodge would have been able to go ahead and translate that for everybody.
I think it says sleeper car.
Yeah, Schlafwagen. There you go. There you go, Sparky. It's not going to. Let me try and. There you go. It's just a.
That would be.
There we go. I got it to. There we go. It flipped. Yeah, but there you can see there's just a little peg that sticks up, and then the loop goes over top of that.
Brian Page asked, how old is that Orient Express? He hasn't seen that in a while.
This, like I was saying, this came from the early 80s. This is an old Bachmann set. And, I mean, the detail on this thing, for what it is from Bachmann, was just outstanding. And it's Bachmann USA, by the way, not Europe. Although, like I said, it does have the European style. It does have a European style coupler on it. So, but yeah, this car here, you know, like I said, there's the sleeper car in French. If we go to the other end, there it is in possibly Italian, maybe. And then on this side, it's actually in English on one end, and then on the other end, it's in German.
He said, was there actually a murder on the Orient Express, or is that a fantasy story?
I have no idea. So that one here, then we just got a normal dining car. And if you notice, this here is kind of like frosted. This here is where the actual cooking area is on this end.
Okay.
And then, of course, you've got the tables and all in there again. They got tables and chairs. I don't know how well they're going to show up, but they're there. The little benches and tables. So that's your restaurant car. And here's another sleeper. Well, that's right. It did come with 2 sleepers. So you got another sleeper car. Another Schlafwagen. Well, I'm part German. What the hey?
Hey, go for it.
I don't know what. I don't know if these are Athearn light kits in here or not, Rodney. I'm not sure how they were done. To be honest, like I said, this has been this way. These cars, my father put them together and put lights in them back in the mid '80s. So it's been a long time, and I think we've discussed one of the things that's unique about this particular set too is the fact that the locomotive free wheels. There's no motor in it.
Oh, wow.
Ah!
Now it's got no wheels.
No, that was I forgot that the tender comes apart. Well, and the reason why the locomotive doesn't have any the free wheels is because the motor
It's all in the tender.
is in the tender.
Oh, wow. Open gears.
So the
That's
tender
gotta be a
pushes.
nightmare.
Yeah, so the tender pushes and now you know why I don't run this very often. So this here the tender pushes the locomotive, kind of like those other little sets that I had that we were talking about with Heath a while back.
That's so strange.
It was one of the things that I don't know why they did it, but it did, and it is what it is. I mean, it works. But it is a little bit concerning and one of the other things too, you can't really see it on here, or maybe you can. These have actually got traction tires.
Oh, yeah. Now that you mention it, I can see them.
Yeah. Yeah, you see that the wheels don't look like the ones on the front truck. They're the ones on the front don't have any type of grooving to them. That's your pickups.
It's weird because it makes them look like 2 totally different size wheels also.
Mm-hmm. But these are this side is the pickup and this side's the drive. And the drive side's actually got the traction tires. That's all right, Jason. He's back.
A few moments ago, he said they restored power and then boom. I don't know if he means it went back out again or. Blew the transformer somewhere, so I guess he's back down.
Oh, geez.
Didn't even stay for 3 seconds. There you go.
Oh,
okay.
man. I've been through that before. So, but anyway, that's really all I had on the agenda for tonight. Was going over the passenger cars and going over the DC stuff.
Well, I was putting the kids to bed when you were doing the whole DCC wiring. Can we start over with that since I missed it, or?
Well, you can go back and rewind the video. We'll wait. I think somebody said that before. Go back to the beginning, Rick. We'll wait.
Okay, sounds good. All right, be right back.
Oh, everybody's a critic. if you have a screwdriver, Jason, Sparky might be able to tell you how to fix it.
Oh gosh.
Oh Lord. Oh, the hat's drawing too much power. Yeah, that's true. Rodney's sitting here. I think Rodney's having issues seeing the stream too, but I think he's having issues with his internet. But he was just texting me saying that the old Tyco had hook and loop as well, which they did, and that's one of the things. Oh, and I'm getting too old for this shit.
No, Lackawanna, this is all for Ray.
What's that?
I'm just free. Lackawanna made a comment and said, "Is Rick self-promoting?" I said, "No, this is all for Ray. This was in my contract, free advertising."
So, Rodney was texting me saying about the old Tyco hook and loop style couplers. Well, there you go.
Oh wow.
This is on that 1950s 040 that I've got. That I run very sparingly. Of course, my father turned around and years ago put a normal horn hook on the back.
Oh, there you go.
So you could run other cars behind it, but of course he converted all the cars that were in that set from the hook and loop over to the horn hooks. So anyway, yeah, I forgot the ladder.
Brian Page made a comment earlier. When you read the comment about the screwdriver,
oh, okay.
Brian Page said, "Don't forget the aluminum ladder."
Yeah.
And someone said, "Forgot the ladder."
Yeah, turn him into a lightning rod. Yeah, Randall. I tell you what, this weather has been really bad. Yesterday and today, I tell you. Yesterday, I helped my my niece and her fiance move out of an apartment into a new home, or not a new home, but into a house. And yeah, I tell you what, it was great outside yesterday. It was like 57 degrees down here. It was beautiful.
Yep.
And then the day, wake up and it's freaking raining. I'm like, you know what? And I think we're supposed to get more snow this week.
Oh, don't tell me that.
Yeah, that's what the wife told me. I'm like, go away. Where's the commuter cars and today's train car? Unfortunately, Steve, I don't run anything modern. The most modern locomotive that I think I run is probably that BQ 23.7 that we talked about last week. So, yeah, I don't run any of the commuter trains. I had thought about bringing over the RDC pair. That's the rail diesel cars. To a point, they're a locomotive, but they're also a passenger car. So they're a little bit of both. And there is a difference between, an RDC1 and an RDC3. You know what? Let me go ahead and grab it. Oh.
I'm not sure if I'm supposed to sing the Jeopardy theme here or what, so we'll just wait for Ray.
See, if Jason's still in the chat. Okay, fine. Well, here you go, Jason. Wait a minute.
Mosquitoes were out today. Oh man, them skeeters.
Oh, that wasn't the right one. I gotta wait for it to finish.
0 temps last week. Chernobyl would kill them.
Okay.
The bug's here, frozen in ice.
So the front of this RDC pair, and if I can get it on the screen, there we go. This is an RDC3. This actually had baggage service, I believe. That's the reason why you've got this door up front here. It's a bigger door. And then on the back of this train, I actually have an RDC1, which is nothing but a passenger car. Now,
Nice.
neither one of these have. Well, actually, I'm sorry. The RDC3 actually does have an interior. It's really hard to see because of the lighting in here. But the RDC1 does not, and that is because this is an old Athearn rubber band driven unit. Of course, I've taken the drive system out of it because, well, I really don't need it. The RDC3 is a Proto 2000 unit.
Lackawanna asked if those were band-driven RDCs.
No, the front one isn't. The front one is actually a GP. Is actually a P2K. And if you notice, it wouldn't be that hard to convert this thing over to DCC because it's already got all the little pickups and stuff.
Sure does.
And you know what? Model Railroad Magazine talked about this thing years ago. They're like, oh yeah, the thing of it is, they're like, you have to cut the traces in here.
Oh.
And they're like, yeah, unless you're really good with a Dremel tool and really, yeah, you don't want to be doing that. So they recommend just taking this board out and replacing it completely.
I forget whose channel it was, but I saw someone do that to that style car.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was.
Well, like I said, Model Railroader Magazine actually did do it. And it was actually on their one of their Dream Plan build videos. That is where they did it. I'm trying to remember how to get the. Oh man. Oh well, the glass just came loose.
Oh my God! Now Amanda's on it too.
What's that?
Train Freak said, Rick, Amanda said most trees relate to skeeters.
Oh, hold on a second here.
Thanks, Amanda.
Well, she's been over there blaming Heath too, so
That's true. She's a convert. He's in the hobby and doesn't even know it.
So anyway, I think was it Ian that was asking if we had rubber bands? Well, that's what a rubber band drive looks like. Now, obviously, the rubber bands aren't there anymore, and there would be a there's actually little metal hooks that come up from the truck that would actually connect to the motor. I've obviously removed that as well because I didn't need them in the way. So I just left the rest of the drive system sitting there because I was like, where else am I going to put it?
Right.
I didn't want to ruin the thing. I took all the other parts and they're off into a parts bin. So that way, if I ever decided I wanted to run it by itself, I could go ahead and put the rubber bands back on it and it'll run. This thing will run, and it'll run pretty well too, considering its age. I mean, this is from the 60s.
Wow.
And this thing will run when it wasn't tied to the other car, this thing would run rather well for its age. But I was like, I've got the RDC3 and I can connect it up. I might as well just go ahead and do that. So that's what I did. I actually made my own little drawbar out of electrical pieces. Actually, there we go. See if it shows up a little bit better.
Yeah, there you go.
It's basically just a straight splice and then two loop connectors with a piece of wire stuffed in the middle. That's it. And it's just screwed to both of the cars. And it's just screwed to both of the cars. And yeah, you're right. Nobody would ever know the difference. They're paired up. They don't come apart.
Well, except for the 41 people that are watching the show now.
Well, yeah. Yeah, well, this is true. So if anybody ever wants to make a drawbar for an RDC,
contact Ray.
Oh, man, I hate this. Oh, well, I'm going to have to take that back over to the bench now.
Fix it later.
Yeah, the glass keeps coming loose. I had that issue with one of the other passenger cars, and I just glued it in there. I was like, I ain't dealing with this anymore, because every time you would snap it down, the glass would come loose. Yeah, I hear that the Rapido, of course, Sparky had a bunch of them at one point in time, and I think Nordell, Drew, I don't know if he's in here or not, but I know Drew. Hey, Jack. Drew had talked to him about that too, and I know with the Rapido RDCs, you are not supposed to consist them. You are not supposed to have them pull another train or have them pull a train. They don't recommend it. And one of the things I can say, and it's one of the things I've noticed now, the Atherin unit is rather light. So it doesn't really bother me that much. But one of the things I noticed with the lead unit, the RDC-3, there, and somebody can tell me if they've seen the same thing. Change trains. Read my last post. Oh, there we go. There we go.
Made a gear drive conversion.
Oh, okay. I'll have to look into that, Shane. Thank you. I missed that one. Yeah, that's basically what I did, Chuck, is I made mine into a dummy. But, yeah, exactly, Sparky. That's what I was getting at. Yeah, with the Rapido RDCs, they're not supposed to pull anything. There was nothing in the box or nothing that I could find with the old lifelike P2K that said that you couldn't. And like I said, this RDC-1 comparatively to the RDC-3 is extremely light. One of the things that I have noticed, and I don't know if Rapido is this way or not, I have to give that RDC-3 an awful lot of power to get it to move. It's like the gear ratio is really, really low. So in other words, most of my locomotives, I can run them between 35 and 40%. This thing I have to jack up to like 55, 60, 65% on the power pack before it's moving at a decent speed or moving in the same speed as everybody else.
Wow.
It's just one of the things I've noticed, and the only thing I can think of is they had them geared lower because of the fact that I don't think they were designed to go quick. I don't think they were designed to go fast. So, but that's just my thoughts. I'm not 100% certain. Take it easy, Steve.
Nice, Steve.
So, I did that idea before 2 loops and the drop screw is a pin. Yeah, exactly, Rodney. I mean, sometimes you have to make things work. And I had put plastic between there. I tried a couple other things, and one of the things that I knew I couldn't do was use an actual piece of metal. So, it was just one of those things. Lackawanna Rail fan is saying, and I forgot what his name is saying he's got a proto GP7 and it takes a lot of power to get moving like you're. I've got 2 proto BL2s, and I don't have, well, one of them I've got a problem with. The motor is completely shot. I need to get a new motor for it. But the other one, I don't have a problem with it needing a lot of power. I can put it to 40% and it'll run just as fast as an Atherin GP38 or GP35 or any of my F units for that matter. So I don't think it's a gearing. Like I said, I think it's a gearing issue more than it is anything else. And I tell you what, I love. You're right. Thanks, Rodney. Tyler. Tyler. It's Tyler. See, this is the funny thing. I've talked about this before. One of these days, I'm going to set myself up an Excel spreadsheet and put everybody's channel name on one side. And the next column, I'm going to put what their actual name is because half of the time, the channel and the name don't match.
I think Cousin Vinny has one.
Oh, he does?
I think so. I remember hearing him say that before, I think.
Okay, I'll have to hit up the cuz because, when you're 50-some years old, the memory doesn't work as well as it used to. But yeah, I mean, I tell you what, if I had my way, which I pretty much do, but I would stick with Atherin blue boxes and P2Ks, and people could call me absolutely nuts and off my rocker if they want, but I have had very little issues. The problem with the 1BL2 with the motor, that was my fault. I think what happened is I got a little too much oil on there and it ended up burning out the commutator.
Mm.
So that was my mistake. But otherwise, I have had very little issue with Atherons or P2Ks. I've got an Atlas unit sitting over there that I'd like to take and throw across the room sometimes, because it's just I cannot. That thing you turn it up, you turn the power up to it, and it'll creep, and then all of a sudden the daggone thing will just take off. So I tell you what, I've got a couple of IHCs as well, and I've got the old some of those AHM locomotives. Those things will pull forever and a day. Some of them aren't going to be able to be converted to DCC real easily, but for what they were back in the day, with that can motor sitting straight up and down right over top the rear truck, those old AHMs, they made their own sounds. So those were, to me, those were great little units for what they were. So, and I guess the tree had to go drop off some sap. Memory, yeah, exactly, Shane. I hear you. I hear you. Power truck just drove by. Well, gee, if he comes up in another 19 minutes, you could jump back in there, Jason. Oh, man. Yeah, but I've talked about that before. Those old AHM units, they've got their own sound. So, anywho, let's see, what else have we got? All right, I hope that it helps show that many do that kit correctly. Okay. Obviously, there is still something, there's some side stuff going on, which is perfectly fine. We've talked about this before. Hey, that's one of the reasons why we do these streams, is so that we get a chance to somewhat be able to, have some sort of communication with people. Yeah, I tell you what, Tyler, I've got that E7 that I showed last week, that Wabash unit. That's a P2K, and that thing, that lifelike P2K will pull forever and a freaking day. I love that locomotive. So, I'm listed as freak. Yeah, I know. That's one of the things I'm not looking forward to, is the freaking humidity coming back. Hey, Jason, power's back on. They blew a fuse. Yeah, take it easy, Sparky. I got you. Take it easy, my friend. Lunchtime here. Man, anytime, Sparky. Anytime. Oh, man. That's the thing. I enjoy doing this. I'm glad. Unfortunately, I know Sparky's getting ready to leave, or has left. But, if it weren't for Sparky pushing me to do this, I'd be missing an awful lot, because this is a blast.
Yeah, you and me both.
This is an absolute blast to be able to sit here, shoot the breeze, deal with the tree. I'm sorry, Rick, I couldn't leave it alone.
That's all right. Did you see what I posted in our Sidetrack Sunday chat earlier today?
Unfortunately, for some stupid reason, right as I was coming on, and I was sitting there trying to talk to you guys, and I couldn't. It kept telling me that there was a delay, and I'm like, "What? A delay for what?"
I was oh god, and now I got to find it on my phone. I was practicing my airbrushing.
Oh yeah. I saw what you did. Yeah. Wait a minute, I'll make you bigger.
That's what she said.
Well, it was a PG show.
It's for my daughter.
Hey! Oh man, now I've got more trouble in the basement.
Oh gosh.
Oh,
Yeah. Just as we were getting ready to leave.
Hey, that means I get to go through all my passenger cars, right?
Yeah, hey, I'm here for you, bud.
I haven't heard the second boom yet, so I guess they got it fixed.
We'll know if you drop out.
Man, it sounded like, because the second time, like soon as power kicked on, it didn't even last for 3 seconds, and it sounded like someone shot an artillery shell.
Oh,
yeah,
it was loud.
Huge.
Yeah,
must have been close.
yeah, only on our road. I mean, just 11 people out power, and it's my road out of all roads. My road.
Wow.
Well, of course, you know the power company. You know what it is. Rick called them up and said, "Hey, you know."
Nah, I'm sure Heath has something to do with it, unless it was
Listen,
Rick's cousin.
I need to be on this show. Ray's going nuts here. Oh.
Oh man! So if you want to
That's
go
awesome.
ahead and show some of your passenger cars off there, Jason, you feel free.
Sure. Okay. I think you did. You had your streamliners pretty covered. I've got a set of Walder's classic heavyweights,
Okay.
and I'm gonna change my camera so that way y'all can see these a little better. Boop,
Yeah,
there we
I
go.
figured it out. It was easier just to go off the desk camera than what it was the overhead.
And I mean, so this is my RPO, and I took all the roofs off of them, so that way y'all could see like how detailed it is on the inside.
Oh, neat.
That is insane.
And
Hey.
they've even put
Good.
the office in the corner. The
Yeah,
toilet.
if you bring that back over a little bit, Jason, and you guys, you see right past where he was talking about the here it is. I'm pointing to the screen. But you see those cabinets to the I guess it would be your left of the office. That's
The
where all the
quarter rack.
mail would go. That was where all the letters and bills and things of that would go. So
Yep.
as the train is moving, there is a railway guy.
They're sorting mail.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
sorting
Yeah.
the mail. It was one of those things that was a cliche back in the 40s or 30s, 40s, and 50s, the fast mail. That's because
Right.
they were sorting the mail as the train was moving.
And
know,
not just that, but they would also sort them in these bins as well.
Yeah, well, your bigger packages and stuff would end up in some of that in that other hole on the upper side of that, or what would be closest to you, Jason. That is
Okay.
where the bags of mail would be, where they would actually throw the mail as they were sorting it. The
Right.
stuff was completed once they would fill up a cubby. They would throw it in the bags that would be there, and then they would tie those bags off. And when they would get to whatever station they belonged at, they would throw them out the door.
Right. And then of
Yep.
course it even has the hangers
Yep.
and the catchers on the doors too.
Yep. We talked about that.
So
But you got the interiors in your cars. I don't.
yeah. So here's a baggage car. I was thinking baggage. Would there really be interiors in a baggage car?
Well,
The
Cages?
answer is yes.
Yeah.
You got a desk with even more cubbies for sorting, a wood stove, some type of vanity. So I'm assuming somebody was assigned to stay in the baggage car, some type of train man or something. And I mean, he's got his own sink there, but there's no toilet.
I
In the
wonder
baggage.
if that might be more of an REA. You know,
It
Railroad
does not say
Express,
it.
but it doesn't say it. Yeah.
It does not say it.
Hmm.
So I have no clue. Let's see here. I guess we could start off with the chair of the coach.
We haven't started yet?
Rick, if you're not careful, you're going to get shoved in this little room here in the bottom corner.
Well, I've been there. I've been there.
Yeah, there's actually a toilet in there.
And one on this side too. Which, I mean, I could put people in there because, I mean, the windows, you can see through the windows.
Mm-hmm.
except for where the bathrooms is. So maybe you could just see a figure of a person. I don't know. I've never tried it.
How cool would it be if that was lighted and you saw like a silhouette?
He's actually got the lighting for these cars, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, not for all of them, but I'm not a big fan of how the lighting works. So this is it. And on the car, there's 2 metal prongs here. So when you actually buy these cars, they're already ready to pre-lit. You just have to buy the light kit to go in them. And so it sets in there like so. This is the top of it. So there's a bulb here, and a bulb there. And they're all incandescent bulbs, and I'm going to have to retrofit them to LEDs eventually. But in the car, there's little bitty holes that it rests in. And so it literally just sets like that.
Oh, wow.
On the whole car. So I'm curious, but see, the problem I'm seeing is like here on the end, the light ends before it gets to the bathrooms.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then on this end, the electronics are covering the bathrooms. The light really doesn't start till here. So your lights from, I can't get it all on camera probably. Let's see. Yeah, from here to here is your light range. But you've only got a bulb here, here, and there.
I'm sure with some styrene, you'll come up with something really cool.
Well, I was thinking about getting some of that LED.
Yeah.
I've got some of that LED tape, and I was thinking about using that. So that's my chair car. Here's my parlor car. Very similar, except for instead of bench seating, you have chairs.
That's cool.
I'm not a fan that they're all the same direction, and that was like the chair car. All the benches are in the same direction. They would have the backs of the benches. You could actually pick them up and move them over. So if you had like a group of 4 people, you could have each, and you're riding coach per se. These are coach cars. You could have everybody facing each other, kind of like you would in a private car. But yeah, these are standard cards. Now this one here says Pullman on it. I don't know. Did y'all talk about the Pullman company any?
Not really, no.
Okay.
Nah, didn't touch on that one, Jason.
Didn't touch on it. All right. I'll talk about that in a minute because that's actually some really, really neat information. I'm just going to share a few more of these. This is my rear observation, and it does have the deck on the back. And a couple of private rooms.
Jeez.
You see what I was talking about, though, Rick, where there's a hallway. You got the room.
Yeah.
The hallway on the other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We one of the cars that I had shown is like that. Well, it didn't have the interior, but the one side of the car had windows all over it, and the other side they were evenly spaced.
So this is another one of my observations. This is what they call a solarium observation, and that's because on the back end, I have to take it down, it's got the windows beside each door. So where most cars on the ends don't have windows.
Right.
So, and then typically the one with the platform, a lot of times you'll hear those called as a business car. So a lot of your railroad personnel, like your president, vice president, people like those would ride in the back car, or sometimes wealthy families or businessmen type things. I do have a few sleepers, different sleeping arrangements. Let's see. This is a 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. This is a 10, 1, 2. So you would have 10 individual rooms here with a walkway down the middle. And then one, let's see. Okay, yeah. One family room here that has their own individual bathroom. And then 2 other private rooms. The 10 rooms.
You figured that out. Okay.
Yeah. So the 10 rooms on this side would actually use a community bathroom here, which the toilet's in this little compartment there. And then these 2 rooms would use the community bathroom on this side. So that's a 10-1-2. I think that's right. Yeah, 10-1-2. Let me move over because I've got a few more of these. What is this one?
Yeah, Tyler, the car is up in Steamtown, and the same thing when I was up in Alaska at the taking the Alaska Railway, they flip as well.
Yeah. All right, this one here is a 6-3. So I guess that's because it's got 6 little smaller rooms and then 3 of the bigger. Even though they're not all in the same row or same configuration, I guess you would say.
Right.
But these did say Pullman up here, even though the railroad name was up there. Originally, your passenger cars that were Pullman owned and operated would say Pullman on here. They were two-tone gray in the reverse paint scheme as this, so you would have darker gray on the top and bottom and the lighter gray in the middle. SP was the only company that reversed it.
Take it easy,
and then eventually they would change it and put Pullman's on the end and put the railroad name at the top. So the Pullman company actually would own the car and they would service it and maintain the staff. So the staff that worked in the Pullman cars were not employees of any specific railroad. So this is a 12-1. So we got, 12-1. So you got 12 individual rooms here and then 1 private. And even the bathroom, I mean, you can see this. They made it bigger. And that side too. So you had community bathrooms. That one would have had men on one side and women on the other. Same thing with this one. This is a 6-1-2. No, 8-1-2. 8-1-2. So a very similar setup. It's like they didn't have the same floor plan for each car. All right, and then the last car that I've got is, of course, the diner. It's one of my favorites. You got all the booths and tables in there. And then, of course, it's even got the kitchen fully detailed.
Wow.
And so most diner cars would actually only have one door on the side, and that was your kitchen door. And that's where, when the cars were stopped at the station, they would load the meats and stuff and produce through that door while no one else is in the way, because you can see there's just basically a hallway here that just goes around it. Now, this one's actually got a door on the end that's accessible by the hallway. So, and then sometimes, you would see what they call mail trains as well, and that could be a form of a passenger train, which the difference between your standard passenger that has like maybe 1 RPO or 1 baggage attached to it and a mail train, they would have, I know the SP would have like a couple of express box cars. So a couple of these in the middle with a RPO on each end of the express box cars, and then a baggage on each end of those, and then they would slap a locomotive on one side and a coach on the other. And those would make a lot more stops than your regular streamline passengers would. And so they did offer coach service for a cheaper price, but it's a longer ride if you're going a long distance. So, but that's pretty much what I know about passengers.
Jason, I made a mistake. We were talking earlier about the passenger cars and how I didn't have any that were had interiors. Well, I forgot about the Orient Express cars.
Oh, there you go. Now you know what you got to do is if you decide to put people in there with the tables and stuff, their legs don't fit, so you have to amputate them.
You got to amputate them.
I can't wait to see you ping on the silverware.
I was telling Rick, I said, yeah, you see all those lamps that are in there, those are individually put on the tables. You actually had, when it came, you actually had the brass lamp, and then you had that red shade. You had to put the shade on the lamp, and then you had to put the lamp on the table. And that don't come out of there. And I think somebody else was asking about how these, because these are lit. Now, this is an interesting little setup here. But it's just a piece of copper across the axle, because one side of this, the wheels are isolated from the other side. So in other words, the axle touches the wheels on one side, but it doesn't touch them on the other.
Right.
There's an insulator in the middle, but that's just a piece of copper laid, or a piece of brass laid across the axles, and just a piece of wire comes up, and right in the middle of the car is the lamp. And what they did is they actually put
tinfoil
across the interior roof.
There you go.
Hey,
Goes
if
to
it helps with the light.
It is.
So my Walters cars, this is what the trucks look like. They've got 4 little screws up there. And then on the bottom of the car, under each of the trucks, they've got contacts.
Right.
That those screws rub. And then, of course, I don't want to take it all the way apart, but there's 2, metal strips that go all the way down, and then up one of the sides, and there's the 2 contacts right there. And then when you buy that light kit, it literally rests on those 2 contacts.
Wow.
And if it doesn't light, then you have to take the roof off, which is a pain in the rear, and pry your contacts back up and figure out why is it not making good connection. I'm not a fan of their light kits at all.
Yeah.
And they have some that are supposed to be DCC friendly, and they're not.
Yeah, I can't imagine. So.
Well, and they just don't. I don't know. It's like the light is so dim on these, and I understand, like, heavyweights from like the 30s to 40s, they didn't have, good lighting back then, but I don't know. It's just not bright enough, in my opinion.
Well, my biggest thing with lighting the interiors of these cars, well, number one, a lot of them don't have interiors to begin with. And as you and I were discussing before the show and before you lost power, I've had to go back and re-weight a lot of these because they were just way too light.
Right.
Which means there's no place for me to put an interior in without doing a bunch of modifications to it. But regardless, one of the issues that I have at DC is the fact that they suck a lot of power. The incandescents, obviously, suck a lot of power out of the track. They pull a lot of current out of the track, which means that anything else that's out there on that run is going to it's going to get slowed down by that current draw.
Oh yeah, easily.
And that's it was one of the things I kept having issues over here by the farm. And I'm like, why am I losing power over here? And then one night it dawned on me. I'm like, I looked over at the passenger terminal and realized I had one of the lit passenger trains sitting on the inner loop. And I'm like, well, there's where all the freaking power went, because because like I was telling you, that block starts right there on the south side of that farm. So block 1 starts there and runs all the way down to the outside of the yard, outside of Beauville Yard. So that's a huge block. It's fine because, like I said, I've got that 16 or 14 gauge wire. The bus wires run all the way around. I don't lose current that way. But if I've got a passenger train sitting down there that's lit, guess what? Block one's getting extra power sucked out of it that the other two blocks aren't. So when a train goes north and it gets to block one, it's
So I see where Bernard was mentioning DCC with the Keep Alive. While there's lights for their heavyweights, which of course they don't make these passenger cars anymore, there is no space for a good Keep Alive. I mean, space is at a minimum, especially when you've got your interiors in there. I mean, you don't want a capacitor hanging down in the hallway.
Yeah, you hit your head on it, you know.
Yeah.
Boink.
But yeah, it cracks me up every time.
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, I think no matter which direction you go in, and that's the problem with passenger cars. And I don't think it's not lost on whether it's a streamliner or whether it's one of the older heavyweights or even these European style. You know, there's just if you put an interior in, there's very little room to put in any type of weights, and there's very little room to put any type of lighting to where it's not going to look out of place. And it's one of the things, even with the RDC, that we talked about before too. You know, it's there's really with the way that they set up that RDC3, there's really no room to put anything. You know, I mean, that thing's got a heavy frame to it because you wouldn't have any space to do anything. So,
and so John's like, he says he puts capacitors in the bathrooms or the lofts. And, you know, soundtracks, you know, sound card that I have in some of my rolling stock, they have it to where you can configure it for passenger. But where am I going to put a decoder that, I mean, it's the same size of an N-scale decoder, but where am I going to put that in a, you know, like a mini cube speaker in these passenger cars that are fully detailed?
Right.
You know, let alone if I put sound in it, I'm definitely going to want to keep alive of some type.
Right. Right. Hey, Crazy Joe.
Hey, Joe.
Easy John number 2. We'll see. Yeah, I'm going to have to go ahead and get moving here. You know, it's been a long weekend. I'm on call, so I got lucky yesterday. I got a chance to help somebody move, but it's really wearing me out.
Well, I tell you, I'm really hoping this week is not going to be as crazy as last week, because coming off of being closed for a week and a half, it was not fun. So trying to play catch up and whatnot was not fun.
Yep.
Well, you could be playing with mustard.
I've never heard that one before.
That's a good one.
All right.
Anyway.
So Roy was talking about I can't hide it in the top of the roof section. Let me grab one of the lights again.
Yeah.
I set it down here somewhere.
Where
did I put it?
You know, that's one of the things, even with something like this, Roy, there just would not be, you know, as it is, we've got a light taped down inside of here, and it's actually in a hole in the middle of the car, and the lighting, the wiring is run across the edge, but there ain't a whole lot of space between the roof and the interior of the car to put much.
Yeah, that's what I'm fixing to show him. If you want to make me bigger real quick.
Yeah, certainly.
All right. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but let's see here. Come back. That's literally the room I've got.
Wow.
I mean, and it's because of the light kit itself. You know, if it wasn't for, you know, this section here being raised up because there's a bulb in there, and if it was more flat, I could see maybe getting something up above it.
Well,
and I mean, I might be able to right here.
That and put the LEDs in, then you'll have your room.
Well, so the bulbs actually slide out. So when I put the LEDs in, they're going to go in here.
Oh, you're gonna use okay. You're gonna just keep the whole thing.
Yeah, maybe on these. If I put the LED tape wire in there, then I mean, the only other thing I could think of is taping it all the way to the top.
Right.
But I mean, your roof is really not that thick when you look at it. And of course, the camera's not wanting to focus. I mean, it's not really that thick at all. So,
They are not thick at all.
no, not by any means. I mean, here's a pin, which is roughly the same size thickness as a decoder. And when you compare it, I mean, it, pin hides it. So, yeah, I really don't think that's a viable option by any means.
Unless, of course, it was a Z-scale decoder.
Yeah. Which you can barely see it
Yeah,
to
but-
begin with.
You can barely see it to begin with. Exactly.
So,
But you can't run a Z scale keep alive.
no.
You
You
still
gotta
you would still need the room for the keep alive. So
right. Minimum 2 capacitors. I mean, you can't even do 1 capacitor. I mean, you just might as well hang up on that.
Jason,
But you could do 2 capacitors.
LED strips. I use 12-volt strips and 2 1K resistors hardwired to the trucks.
Right. Which
yeah,
for me,
that makes sense.
like I said, all I got to do is solder it to those 2 prongs there, because those go to my trucks.
Right.
Right.
But
Yeah.
not every car's got enough framing that I could lay it down on.
Right.
And the other thing about my LEDs is my LED strips, they're bright white, which would not look right at all. I need a warm white.
Right.
But what I was complaining, with those incandescent bulbs is not the color of the light, it's the brightness of the light.
Yeah.
Little bit of yellow paint on the LED. We'll fix that.
Well, so I've got warm white LEDs.
Right.
I just got to do it. But if I use those LEDs, and that means I still got to buy the light kits for the rest of the cars. I've only got 2 kits right now for 2 that are lighted out of, I think it's 11 cars I have total for that set. So
11.
you want to talk about a long passenger train, and those cars are heavy.
Yeah.
I've got an Alco PA. It's made by MTH, HO scale, and it's die cast, so it's really heavy, and it's a real good puller, and it struggles to pull it around curves and stuff by itself. It can pull it on a straight any day, but once you start getting the curves and stuff, it gets a little tougher, and it won't pull it up. Just one of them won't pull it up, the Helix. I need the other A and B unit to go with it, make it an ABA with those Alcos.
Well, let me ask you a question. Once you put a train, meaning all of your passenger cars, your mail cars, all that, once you put that together, does that ever get broken up?
It depends. Because
Because and the only reason I ask is because Rodney just came up with a thought and said put it in an empty car. Well, couldn't you use something as small as like magnet wire and you stretch it across the couplers and put your decoder and your
that could be a
alive in like
possibility.
your passenger car?
That could be a possibility, but if I do break it up, to store it from time to time, then you're talking about having to cut that wire.
Yeah, cut the wire or put couplers on that are not going to look prototypical,
Right.
like wire jumpers.
Right.
I wish there was a way to do it a little more simpler than that, but unfortunately there's not. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, it's somebody was asking earlier, how long the passenger cars or how long the passenger trains are, and like I said, for my railroad, I can't go any more than 5 cars because of the constraints at what will be Beauville Station.
Right.
With the passenger terminal over there, the longest train I can run is 5 cars, and that's 5 cars behind a GG1.
Yeah.
So that is a long train, at least for this layout, you know. But hey, Robert from the Flying Crow made it in.
Hey, Robert.
Hey, Robert.
And here it is. He made it in probably 15 minutes. We're going to go ahead and shut things down. But anyway, um, sorry, Robert. But yeah, I mean, it's, and I know that some of the things, and here we go with this wonderful P word, the prototype word. I know some of the things that I do are not prototypical, and I'm not the prototypical model railroader. I'm not doing that. A lot of the stuff that I do or that I'm trying to do is proto Lance anyway. And the era that I'm modeling in, if you're talking towards the end of passenger service as the individual railroads ran it before Amtrak took over, those passenger trains wouldn't have been that long. In fact, I mean, I don't think the Amtrak trains these days they're what, 5, 6, 7 cars maybe.
Yeah.
The locals are not that long, and the cross country ones I think are the ones that are the longest, and they're probably only at 11 or 12 cars.
Right, and that's the thing with the cross country one, which would be like my set. It's mostly sleeper cars.
Right.
When you think about it, I've got 1 coach, 1 parlor, and 3 or 4 sleepers.
Right.
So, I mean, of course, I mean, you had your commuter trains too, which were nothing but coaches.
Right.
But as far as like at the real railroads, did they ever break the trains up? Yes or no? Most of the time, the answer is no.
Right.
If they had a way to run it around like a balloon loop in a yard or something, wash it, service it, inside and outside, and then they'll run it back to the station. And a lot of railroads would have, the same train name, which Amtrak still does today. Like, for example, we have the Texas Eagle. Number 21 is going south, and number 22 is going north.
Right.
And then on the next day, number 21 is going north, and number 22 is going south. But they're both called the Texas Eagle because that's the route they serve. Mail trains, if you watch my mail calls, I actually made a mock-up mail train, at the intro. And it's basically 1 locomotive. Then it's I think I did it as a boxcar, RPO, baggage. No, it's boxcar, baggage, RPO, baggage, boxcar. And then a coach on the end. And what they would do with the mail train is they would actually, when it would, go to the yard at its last destination, they would cut the coach off and they would cut the locomotive off. They would put another locomotive on the other end and another coach on the other end facing the opposite direction. And then that train would run back.
Right.
Now, I don't know if the Eastern railroads had mail trains. I really only know of 2 that had mail trains, and that was the Southern Pacific and the Santa Fe. Those are the only 2 that I really know.
The Wabash did. I think the Pennsylvania and the Baltimore and Ohio did as well.
Okay.
One of the things that I forgot to mention, and you were talking about specialty trains, was up in the Northeast, you had milk trains.
Mm-hmm.
And those were passenger service trains as well. You would actually see a milk or a cream car at the front end of a passenger train. And that's because that was a spoilable commodity, and they needed to get it from point A to point B in a hurry.
Right.
Those cars were refrigerated, but still, they wanted to get it from point A to point B as fresh as they could to be processed before they sent it out. So up in the Northeast, you saw a lot of milk cars. That's one of the things that I'd like to get a hold of, even though they probably wouldn't be on my railroad. I'd still like to get a hold of a couple of milk cars just because they were unique. They were just an odd looking car.
A lot of railroads back then had a lot of different type of unit trains that, today when we see a unit train, you're thinking of like a crude oil train or an ethanol train, nothing but auto racks. Railroads had unit trains. They had unit trains back then. They had what was called hot loads, which
Yeah.
most of the time it was reefers.
Mm-hmm.
Or you had with a cattle train too, because with the cattle cars, they had to stop every so often, with the cattle and stuff. And so they would try to make that a high priority. So that way they weren't stuck on the track, because until they needed to stop, because it wouldn't have been good for them to stop and rest on a siding and not be able to let the animals out to get food and water and then
Right.
have to load them.
Right.
So yeah, Bernard's right. Hot shot loads. That's what
Yep.
they called them. So SP had the Pacific Fruit Express, which UP got in on that too.
Yep.
Mopac and I think it's Mopac and CNW had a perishables train as well that they did together.
Yeah, and then eventually on the East Coast, up until a few years back, you had the Tropicana juice train that ran from
Yep.
Florida to New Jersey and from Florida to, I think it was Cincinnati. And those were both CSX runs, and those were hot runs.
Yeah.
I mean, that train didn't
Tropicana still goes from Florida to New York.
What's that?
Yeah.
Tropicana still goes
still
from Florida
goes.
to New York.
Yeah, but not as a unit train anymore.
Oh no?
Nope.
Oh, you mean as one solid?
Yep, as one solid train. They used to run that Tropicana train used to be 125 cars.
Wow.
Yeah.
There was 125 car. I think it was a 125 car train that went from Florida to New Jersey, and the one that went from Florida to Cincinnati, I think, was 70 or 80 cars.
Wow.
Now, speaking of passenger trains, Heath brings up a good point. Circus trains.
Yep.
Which, of course, would be a mix of passenger cars and stock cars. And then, of course, flat cars with any of their equipment.
Right.
Which they would typically have your passenger cars up front, which their passenger cars was literally their, crew quarters. Then all the animals would ride after them, and then they would have all the extra equipment on the back. I actually got to see, is it Barnum and Bailey passenger train a few years ago. It came through the blue train. I think it was the blue. It's either the red or the blue. I think it was the blue one. I shared it with Heath, but we actually caught it going by the hobby shop. I didn't get to film it. Someone else did. I might upload it to my channel as long as I give consent.
Right.
But it was really cool.
Roy was just saying that there was a salad shooter train out west.
Salad shooter train.
Yeah, nothing but refrigerated cars.
Oh.
The same type of deal as we were talking about with the Tropicana juice. And it's funny because somebody, I think it was CP368 that was saying that they're still running that train from Florida to New Jersey, but it's only 50 cars now. It's half of what it used to be.
Wow.
Yeah. The salad shooter, I think what Roy's talking about is PFE.
Yeah, Pacific Fruit Express.
Right.
Train fan had a question a while back that said, does Southern still run mail trains?
Nobody runs mail trains anymore.
I'm sorry, I read that wrong. Didn't Southern run mail trains?
Yes. Everybody did.
Yeah, everybody did.
Everybody did. And they went ahead and they put the best engineer and the fastest locomotive, and that was because it was a hot shot. Like I was saying, that what they would do, and it was funny that one video that I remembered seeing when they talked about hauling the mail, fast mail. That's what it was all about. They were actually sorting and moving the mail at the same time. So everything was happening while that car was going down the tracks. Well, nowadays with airplanes and tractor trailers, and you don't do that anymore. You've got these big processing centers, and everything's done on the ground for the most part.
Roy, are you talking about the ARMN reefer cars over in California? Trinity Reefers.
Back when you actually got your mail.
I was just going to read that.
Yeah.
But
I mean, like,
Trinity
so,
Re-
like I'm saying, there's a difference between the actual mail train and then having a RPO on a passenger train. There's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Because that mail train stopped at every town on the route, where the RPO was just literally long distance express mail.
Yep.
So if you got on the Texas Eagle and you're riding from, Chicago down to San Antonio, the RPO on there is literally only transferring mail from Chicago to San Antonio. But if you're riding on the back end of the mail train from Chicago to San Antonio, every single city, it's making a stop, trading out mail. And a lot of the baggage cars were for, REA,
Right.
which was a lot of the packages.
Yep. Railway Express Agency.
Yeah. Now, the closest thing that you get to that today is seeing a UPS or FedEx trailer on either a well car or a flat piggyback.
Yeah.
That's the closest you get to REA today.
Yeah. Yeah. USPS said that had a train at the beginning. I wouldn't be surprised, but it's been a long time.
Well, I mean, look here. That's how they were.
Yeah. Yep. I tell you what, those mail cars are really neat to see up close too. The real ones, with all that stuff that they've got in the sided area, it's just amazing that they had 7-8 people working inside of that car or more, moving mail back and forth. How they ever figured out how to do that?
Oh man, I don't know. Up at the hobby shop, which it's a depot. They have a RPO that was built in the 1890s, so it's wooden, that they're still trying to restore. I mean, it's in bad shape, but they're still trying to restore it, which I think would be really cool. They just don't have enough people to help with it. It's the only downside.
Jerry's on his way. He'll have that done in no time.
I'm sure he would. I mean, it's so bad. I mean, they took the trucks off of it, so it's sitting on cinder blocks, and it's even settled so bad in some spots that they had to jack, cinder blocks and jack up, different areas.
What is it, a trailer park? I mean,
Sounds like North Philadelphia to me.
I know, right?
Sorry.
That's the norm around here.
But the guy who owns the hobby shop, he's a federal DOT inspector back in the day who was assigned to the railroads, and I know I told many of y'all that in the past. And he's got that RPO up there, which was St. Louis, Iron Mountain, and Southern Railway, which did get acquired by the Missouri Pacific. And then he's got 2 cabooses, a bay window and a cupola. King, Arkansas. I do not know where King's at. But of course, Randall is mentioning railroad drop-off spots, which are typically not always the same as the name of the town.
Right.
So that's like we got a town close to south of me. There's in Jacksonville, Arkansas, which they do have a train show every once in a while or every year. There is it's not a double crossover. It's a pair of single crossovers for the double main. And they call it Jax and spell it JAX. And then there's another one up in Ward, Arkansas, which is about 20 miles further up the tracks. Same thing, 2 single crossovers, but it's called Waycross. I don't know where they get the names from. So, beats me. But then some of them are named, like the Memphis Y over in Bald Knob is named the Bald Knob Junction. So, who would have known, right?
So, all right, folks. Well, it's been a long weekend, and it's probably going to be a long week. So, I'm going to go ahead and call it. Jason, Rick. Well, Rick, thank you for jumping up here while Jason was out of power.
I do what I can, brother.
Thanks, Heath.
Hey, there you go. The king is just north of the queen.
And I know where the Queen's at. I know where that's at. We actually have a town called the Queen. Okay, Randall says it's about 8 miles south of Mammoth Springs. Okay, I know where Mammoth. That is nowhere near the Queen, Robert. Other side of the state.
Thanks, Santa Fe Bob. Hey guys, like I said, I appreciate everybody being in here tonight. Even through all the technical difficulties that I had at the very beginning too. Still don't understand what the heck was going on there. I guess I was trying something different. I should have, like I said, should have rebooted the computer earlier. But yep. If there's any other questions, obviously the video will be up eventually. You guys can go ahead and throw stuff in there. Next time around, we'll go ahead and try and maybe answer some of those up. But again, Jason, Rick, appreciate you guys hopping in. A lot of fun as usual.
I appreciate you letting me join for the small time frame up front until he screwed things up.
Ray, if you wait a little bit, I heard Jason's coming on and we can do this again.
Yeah.
Oh, the things I put up with.
Hey, do we need to start over?
That's right. Rick was saying, "Hey, I missed the first part. Should we get for the DC or the DC stuff? Can you go back and do it again?" I'm like, "Just rewind the video. I'll wait."
I should have when Jason got here. It's not like I was any help at that point.
So, you all know the deal, everybody. Hey, wait a minute. Before I do that, Rick, you got anything coming up? Anything going on your railroad?
No, not really. I think this week I'm going to try and, well, I'm actually waiting for some parts that are stuck in customs in New York. That's great. So, but once they come in, I'm working on that one section, the drop down, I guess you call it a bridge. It's not really a bridge, but a drop down section of the layout. Other than that, no, I got nothing else going on.
Okay. Jason, what you got going on? That was a neat thing with the train show, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
We had a blast. Felt like I scored pretty good on some stuff not so much. And then I actually learned about some of the things that I purchased and probably should not have purchased for my railroad because it don't make sense. So,
Oops.
so I'm probably either going to be selling those, which I definitely need to get in touch with Container Man on some of the intermodal stuff because it's too modern for what I run. So that and those, I need to. If there's anybody big into BN, I've got 2 of those fuel tankers. If you're interested. But other than that, I did put out a layout update video an hour before Ray started. So, and there is a couple announcements on there that if y'all would like to get involved, let me know. You can skip announcement 1 because announcement 1 was just a reminder to join Ray tonight on Soundtrack Sunday.
Which you failed to do.
Like I said, I uploaded it an hour before the show started. So,
right. And then skip step 1.
yeah. But basically, announcement 2 is what I'm looking at doing on my future shows for Sidetrack Sunday is picking a random railroad to talk about. It could be any railroad, whether it's still active today, if it's a fallen flag, if it's a short line, regional, class 1, doesn't matter. For y'all over there in the UK, if y'all want to talk about one of your railroads, it doesn't matter. It's whatever. And what I'd like to do is get y'all as viewers up on panel and just let's talk about a specific railroad. So, like Ray, if you're big into Pennsylvania Railroad, and I think maybe John is too, if we talk about the Pennsy, let's just talk about it. I was thinking like Sparky and Dakman about Conrail You got Tyler with Lackawanna. You got Robert Flying Crows, big on KCS. And he could mix in the Louisiana and Arkansas in with that because I want to say that was a short line that got acquired by the KCS. So that's one of my announcements. The other announcements is for those who like doing operations. I was thinking of a way that we could, try to do some, shouting out each other's channels by instead of using prototypical industries that are off the layout to use other people's industries from other YouTubers' channels layouts.
And that's a neat segue, Jason, because I was thinking about something. This was a while back, and I'm not sure how many people we've got left watching, but if they watch the replay, that's fine too. I had a unique thought, and that was for anybody who
Before we start another hour show.
No. For anybody who has their own railroad, case in point mine, where I've got my own logo and so on and so forth. Dave with the Crooked River and Eastern. John with the Schuylkill River Valley. Rick with the Fultz Valley. Would be to have a car for your home road, whether it be a box car or a tank car or something like that, we could, or have decals made up, and you could go ahead and decal. Well, we wouldn't want Jason to do that; it would take too long. But
yeah, my saliva would dry out.
Well, but where I'm going with it. It would be neat for each one of us that has on YouTube that has a railroad and wants to do operation. If somebody wanted to, if John wanted to go ahead and have decals made up that we could pick up and put on the side of a boxcar or what have you, and then we could have all of these different railroads running on or being pulled by our local railroads. I think that would be cool too. It wouldn't be a traveling thing. It would just be something that we would that everybody could have.
Yeah. There's a channel, Arthur Houston 3. He's a pretty big channel. He runs a railroad club out of Louisiana, and that's what they've done on their layout. It's called the Grande Pacific GP. Big channel. But they don't have any Grande Pacific locomotives. All their locomotives are Rio Grande and SP. But they decaled a lot of rolling stock, box cars, covered hoppers, tankers, you name it.
Right.
All custom decaled.
But like I'm saying, if you've got a specific industry on your railroad, say like John, once he gets there, he's got grain service, which would be a little bit odd for Pennsylvania, but it could happen, and he could go ahead and get decals made up for a covered hopper car. For mine, my biggest thing is warehousing and moving goods. Mine would probably end up being a box car.
So, for example, you could be getting a shipment of furniture from my Shack a Sit furniture company to your warehouse.
Exactly. It would be in my warehouse.
Unless you want a box car full of toilets from my Gamer and Thrones. You can take your pick.
If you guys had got any like wood processing plants or chippers, I could send some log trains over there. I mean,
all right. So, Rick, you're going to have your own little spot on my layout.
Oh, jeez, I can see it now.
I didn't call it Peckerwood Sawmill for no reason.
Here, I thought it was like Outhouses Are Us.
Oh man, but yeah, that like I said, it was just one of those things. But anyway, so that's where we're at. The only other thing I wanted to mention real quick is I've been holding 400 subscribers for almost a month now. Of course, it's been hanging right at 400.
Oh, wow.
401, 402, 405, 404, 405, 403.
Hey, trust
Bingo.
me, I know.
Yeah. So I am going to be putting together, probably going to be towards the end of March, or probably may not even happen until April. I will be having a contest at some point coming up. But it's just with the way things are right now. It's just been a little bit of a stinker trying to get stuff done. As it was, there was a person that one of our fellow YouTubers that actually won something on our holiday show that actually got shipped out last week.
Oh my god!
Oh wow.
So, like I said, things are running a little behind. The maintenance away crew needs to fix the track.
Just blame it on Heath.
What's that?
Just blame it on Heath.
How many patrons, the subscribers? I actually have 5.
I have 9.
Yep. Yeah, I've actually got 5 now. Thank you for asking, Santa Fe Bob. I appreciate that. Yeah, I've actually got 5. Not sure exactly what I did to deserve that, but hey.
Same here.
Yeah. My
If you broke
Teespring
it,
store
they
had
were
my Teespring store actually had a buy the other day, so I'm happy about that. So, things are looking up. I just got to keep I guess I got to keep a little bit of the nuttiness up, and we'll be good.
Well, and that's something I plan on doing is I'm gonna have to start buying shirts off of Teespring. I'm gonna try to at least get 1 shirt a month. Try to show my love to the other channels out there.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, and I think the person actually bought a coffee cup, so that's fine. I mean, it doesn't every little bit, to help, go ahead and keep the contest running and things of that nature. That's what it's there for.
Same here.
It's not coming to me. It's actually going back to you all. This is the same thing with the Patreon stuff. It's not coming to me. It's going back to you all. And one thing I've learned, unfortunately, at Sparky's expense, was to make sure that you're saving enough or making sure that there's enough in the account from the Teespring and the Patreon to make sure you cover shipping. Oops. Yeah, a container, man. It would. I mean, like I said, it's so easy to do, and I've got a tease. I know that John left. Unfortunately, I don't have the stuff up. But if you look at my channel, Roy, I've got a Teespring. I've got Patreon as well. I've also got a PayPal.me set up. So if you want to do something, where you want to do a one-time, that's fine too. And like I said, all of this stuff comes back to you all. I don't get anything really from it. The only thing I get is the fact that I can sit here and run off at the mouth for an hour or two and have some fun with the chat, and we go from there. Actually, Rodney, Teespring is free to start up.
Yes, it is completely free.
It is completely free. And you make money off of whatever is sold. Hey, thank you, Heath.
And not just that, but if you're buying for yourself, you can order what's called samples, and you're only paying, the cost. Like if a coffee mug,
you're only paying the profit.
Yeah, well, not the profit, the overhead, overhead.
Yep.
Because if the coffee mug is like $10, it costs $10 to make, and you sell it for $15 to make $5 profit, which I think it's more like $14 is what it costs to make, and you sell it for $15 for $1 profit. For us to, purchase a sample from our own store, we're only paying, minus the profit.
Right. Exactly. We're not paying ourselves for it, but yeah.
Right.
And this came from my Teespring store, by the way. That's the reason why I stood up and kind of.
Woo!
Yeah.
What a girlish figure.
Yeah, I had to get on there and fix one of my listings, and I actually deleted it and uploaded a new listing and got everything fixed. So I'm hoping to get my neck gaiter in pretty soon.
I actually went ahead and put up a mask and a neck gaiter 2 weeks ago, I think it was. So, yep, I've kind of gotten on that train. Figuratively.
And Train Freak Jr. officially has swag.
Uh-oh.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, boy.
He has swag. And his logo is graffitied just like mine, but the graffiti is all different.
Nice.
So
Following Dad's footsteps.
that's
You
right.
could still do that, Rodney. You could still do that. I mean, it would just be different listings. I mean, people could go there for either the railroad stuff or the racing stuff.
So what you can do, Rodney, is you can create a store called Hot Rod Rodney 25, and then you've got a listing you create a listing for each individual thing you want.
Right.
Just make sure that if you're going to use like any type of logos and stuff, make sure they're transparent. Unless it's a logo like, Ray's, it doesn't have to be transparent, but like mine had to be because I've got a lot of, white stuff, and, it wouldn't look good to have like a square white image with my logo on it, on a black shirt. It just looked weird.
I do have stickers up on I thought I did. I had them up there at one point in time. Somebody was asking for stickers. I'm almost certain that there are stickers on my Teespring store.
The only thing I didn't see that I could offer was the trucker hat that I've been hearing everybody talk about. Is that for like certain people?
I haven't looked at the hats.
I haven't seen them. They're not they don't show up in my store at all. But yet you could go buy a fanny pack if you wanted one of those.
Damn. A fanny pack.
I could have swore. I hope I didn't delete it, but I thought for sure I made a sticker. I'm looking real quick, and then I'm going to have to. I must have taken it down. I'm sorry. I will put one together.
Well, sometimes the listings, Ray, will time out if it's inactive, because I had that issue.
Okay.
So the train hats are a custom item. Okay.
I'll have to go back in there and fix that.
I'll have to look into that, Heath.
I'll have to go ahead and fix that, guys. I'm sorry. I thought we had one up, so I don't. So I'll have to get that straightened out. That's not a big deal. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. Thanks, thanks, Heath. I appreciate you putting the links up for me, bud. Since I know John had a split, so. But, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and call the night, folks. Again, thank you all for joining. Thank you guys for coming up here and shooting the breeze with me. I appreciate it, as always.
Anytime, man. Anytime.
And we got, let's see, next week is going to, wait a minute. Is John doing next week, Rick, or are you filling in?
No, he didn't mention anything to me, but I'll get in touch with him and find out.
Yeah, because I know with what he does for really.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he didn't mention anything, but I'm glad you mentioned it. I will reach out and find out.
Okay.
My battery's died.
Yeah.
Blame it on Heath.
Blame it on Heath.
That lasted what? 3 shows, right? About 3 hours. I haven't charged it since I first put it on. That was what, each show?
Not enough brain power. Sorry, Rick.
That's good. Hey, that's good. It's good. All good.
Hey, that's right. He's going to hit me up when I least expect it.
I got to figure out how to charge this thing. It's got a battery somewhere.
Throw another log on the fire.
Thermal charging. There you go.
Steam power.
Oh, boy.
Oh, man.
See, now that I know that I'll bust Jason up every time, I'm going to make sure I keep hitting that freaking button. All right, gentlemen and everybody in chat. You all know the deal. Wait for the eyeball. Green tracks ahead. We'll catch you all next time. Be safe. God bless. We will see ya.
See ya.
Take care.
End broadcast.